Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shota Olusegun. In this video, we're going to dissect the anatomy of wealth creation according to the universe. Well, you will not forget that I shared with you the other time that the equilateral triangle of time energy wave model is what we can actually use to model the wealth of the universe. And so we're going to do that in this particular video as we're going to dissect the anatomy of the wealth itself. Now, I want us to look at this place where we have Proverbs chapter 24, verse 3 to 4. That part is telling us wealth creating system according to scripture, Bible. So now the verse 3, through wisdom is an house builded, and by understanding it is established, and by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches. Now, what that Bible verse, or what the Bible verses are telling us, is that wisdom is what it takes to build a repository for wealth. Now, when we look at this equilateral triangle, you see that at the topmost, we have huge time to tiny energy. And what we can actually define wealth to be is having huge returns accumulation per tiny energy usage. When you have huge time to yourself, then you can actually spend that time for more productive things. So now what the rich, what they do is to actually get more time by employing more people to do what they're supposed to do for them, probably maybe by running the company or whatsoever. So now we have key information right here that I want us to dissect. Key information here. The first thing is we're going to look at the parameters for this equilateral triangle. The first one we have is time, and time is equal to wisdom. Time is also the same thing as instancy. So now this is the trajectory of time constancy, and this is the trajectory of energy constancy. So the second one is energy, which is the same thing as understanding, and then the same thing as infinity. Based on that, you can relate it to what the Bible verse is talking about. So now we're going to look at how we can actually use all these things. The third one is mass worth, which is the same thing as knowledge, and then the same thing as currency. Now, how can we use all these things? At the bottom of the equilateral triangle, you can see that it is so narrow. There we have huge energy to tiny time. So what that is telling us is that what we have in abundance at this stage is energy. And then that energy that we have must not be spent. The energy is going to serve as something that we can leverage on to get to the point where we can have the wealth that we need to have. So if that energy is spent as raw as it is, that will actually affect our path to wealth, because the path to wealth will not be able to scale the way it ought to scale. Now, if we want to have this equilateral triangle the way we have it, then we don't have to spend that energy. Instead of spending the energy, let me give you a typical example of how to spend energy at this stage. A typical example is when you, instead of doing something that will, generate money for you, something that you will do once, and then it will keep on generating money for you in the future, you just go and apply for job, and then you get employed. Now, by so doing, you are spending the energy raw as it is. I'm not saying that one should not get employed to get money. But what I'm saying is, at this point, you have to think of what amount of energy you want to spend at work. So instead of getting a job that will actually, you know, get you engaged, that you will not have any time left for any other thing, you better apply for a job that will give you more time, that you can actually spend on other things, probably by maybe writing a book that you can publish online, that you can get royalty on for as passive income. So that is what I think we should do right here, to leverage the scaling of this equilateral triangle such that it will then give us huge time to tiny energy at the topmost level. So now, by having the key information that we have here, it simply means that when you have more time to yourself, you have needed wisdom to generate wealth. So wealth is far beyond what people think, is far beyond what you can just think of it. Wealth is about how one can generate passive income. It's all about how one can sacrifice now and get paid forever. It's all about doing what can actually guarantee the kind of future that you want. That is what wealth is all about for you. So now we can relate that to the Bible verse. What we have here, Bible says that, and by understanding it is established. By understanding it is established. That means that is referring to the foundation phase. Now, once we now leverage on that, we can reach the topmost level of the equilateral triangle. Then here Bible says by understanding it is established. That means the energy is going to serve as the foundation phase. Energy is what you have, is what you really have huge of it to yourself and the foundation. And that is why it is the foundation of the wealth you want to create. So now, the fourth one, and by knowledge shall the chambers be filled. So now, the knowledge is mass worth. In this case, you need to generate mass worth to scale this equilateral triangle to the topmost level. So now, the mass worth is then what you will then generate as the currency that you will later spend in the future when you now have the wealth. So not the energy. So that is that about the anatomy of wealth creation according to the universe. So now, the topmost region is the wealth attainment phase. The middle is the build-up phase, where you have equal energy to equal time. It means that your effort commensurate with the time that you have, and this is the transiting point from being poor to being wealthy. This is the transiting point. Now, many people make mistake when they get here. Instead of them to still remain focused in order to get to the topmost, they may start spending money on luxurious things that will tarnish their goal and their plan. So now, that is that. And so right here you can see that what we have here says energy at this phase, which is at the foundation phase, serves as a seed that must be planted to produce mass worth as accumulated currency for the purpose of wealth creation. So note, energy must not be spent but invested. Now, at this build-up phase, we have energy invested commensurate with time gained for balanced mass worth as break-even point, equilibrium. And that is the transiting point to the wealth level. So now the wealth attainment phase, that is where we have accumulated mass worth. So here, accumulated mass worth is way more than invested energy. So that is that about how to create wealth. So we need to know wealth is all about knowing how to generate money, the kind of money that will be passive, the kind of money that will generate more wealth for you in the future. So that is that. I'm going to put my book on Amazon in the description below, which is Billionaire Decoder. You can actually get that book in order to know more about how to generate wealth. So basically, this equilateral triangle is from time energy wave model of the novel discovery about universe, and that is modeling wealth creation based on the universe. You understand? So this is a genuine information as to how to generate wealth. God bless you. I remain my humble self, Shota Deolusegun. Till we meet together.